Hey, Recotopia fans! This week our recommendation for you is a special episode of Captain's Pod. In this episode, I board the Enterprise and talk about everything I loved and hated about Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, with Ian and Deneé. You might not know this about the writers at CinemaSins, but we're all super nerdy when it comes to Star Trek. So this new podcast follows our geekdom into new shows, old shows, and really everything Trek. Ian is the captain, Deneé is the reborn Trek fan ambassador, and I'm the fucking fleet commander, whatever that means. Anyway, Captain's Pod is released on Wednesdays, so check out the vibe today, and if you like what you hear, go subscribe and binge all the episodes of Picard and Strange New Worlds. On to the show! An armory just hanging on the wall with lots of phasers in it, because the kitchen may one day be the last line of defense.
Captain's Pod, stardate 318622.5.
5?
Oh, she got it. 0.5.
No, I said 5.
What? Were you covering your bases? How many numbers were you covering there?
I started with 4, and then I just followed you instinctively. 5?
Welcome aboard the Starship Enterprise, and thank you for joining us as we take a brief shore leave from the world of CinemaSins to explore the universe of Star Trek. I am your captain, Ian Whittington, and with me, as always, she's the Excelsior to my Enterprise, Shit's Ambassador Deneé.
Shit's the Ambassador! Woo!
Shit Ambassador Deneé Hughes. Hello.
Is this an official bonus episode at this point? Like, what are we doing here?
This is our very first bonus episode, so this will be an additional episode in your feed. So you're welcome, first of all of you, even though you don't know what's happening yet. Actually, no, you will, because you've seen the title. I forget how time works. So
titling is important.
This is a very special episode. We are going to be watching Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. There is a specific reason we are starting with this particular film, and that will be revealed later on in the episode. Or maybe never.
Also, I have to say, I'm slightly disappointed that this is the first one, because I really thought we were going to be doing Beverly's sex candle episode.
That has been in the schedule for 2 months, and I think that's going to be the next bonus episode we do. It will happen.
It has to.
It has to happen. We've talked about it so much.
It has to. I need to see this episode for reasons.
You really do. Like, this is not the Beverly sex candle episode. Stop. We're not going to get into it right now, but you will love it. Now, why aren't we doing the one with the whales? I hear you all cry. Because we can't just do the one with the whales on its own. We have to do the Rathacon first, the Search for Spock, and then the Voyage Home. That is a trilogy. It has to be done that way. So if we're doing an original series movie, the next best step is to do The Undiscovered Country. Now, the object of this little introduction is to just give Deneé a little bit of a primer about what she needs to know going into this movie. Because
we call this Star Trek lube.
Yes, this is some Star Trek lube, just to give her the best possible chance of a clean entry into the film.
Mm-hmm. I would like to come out unchafed.
There will be chafing. There will be.
Oh no!
I will be chafing, because there are some bits of this film that I will just be bursting because they're so good. This is my top 3 wobble so much. First Contact, The Rathacon, and Undiscovered Country. And I cannot, hand on heart, say where Undiscovered Country is at the minute, because I love it so much. But it is daunting going into it. You haven't seen any of the original series. You know some of this crew from the J.J. Abrams films.
Okay.
So they're the new Star Trek films with Chris Pine.
Oh, so this is a new one. This isn't like an old school one.
No, this is an old one. But I mean, your only knowledge of this crew is from the J.J. Abrams movies, where Chris Pine is Captain Kirk. You're looking at me like you haven't seen those movies.
Oh, that sounds really familiar.
So Chris Pine is Captain Kirk. Spock is played by the
guy.
What's his name?
That played
from Heroes.
There was
Zachary Quinto. Zachary Quinto.
He was so scary in that show.
Yeah, he was in Siler. He was so intimidating.
Terrifying.
And I was like, he can't be Spock.
Terrifying. When he was Spock, I was like, I'm so uncomfortable right now. But you know what? I must say, it has been since those movies came out since I've seen them.
So we are well past them as well. And because they're so totally separate, you don't need to worry about any of that at all. But this is the final official Star Trek movie of the original crew. So you are seeing them at the very end of their journey. There is a kind of Passing of the Flame in Generations, which is the first TNG movie, but this is the last film with all of them as a crew. So you are like, you don't have any knowledge from like the series, the other movies. How are you feeling going into the deep end? It's like joining at Fast and Furious 8.
So Justin, whom I've been married to for quite some time, is absolutely in love with the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, there will be this big match. And he talks about it. He talks about how cool it is and how important it is for the storyline and all this stuff. And he gives me all this history. And then the show kicks off. And this very geriatric man comes out. And they have like this diaper fight back and forth. This very slow, uncomfortable to watch geriatric event. I'm concerned that this is the geriatric event of Star Trek.
It is possible, but it isn't. Like that would probably be Star Trek. I can't look at this impartially. I love this film too much. I am not going to give you a ton of backstory and a ton of shit because it's just it's really, this is a standalone mystery movie.
Like in a standalone adventure. I don't need to have anything leading up to it. I don't need anything on the other side of it. I can just watch it.
Absolutely. The only thing you need to know is that Kirk hates the Klingons. Hates them. Because in one of the previous movies, spoiler, a rogue Klingon kills his son.
Jesus!
Yes. So, and he is now, understandably, has a pretty harsh grudge against the Klingons, who are currently, there's a Cold War between the Federation and the Klingons. So we're not at war, but we are not friends.
So it's not on Vulcan because it's cold. Got it.
Got it. Exactly. Yep. Good reference.
I'm ready.
Nice. And that's pretty much all you need to know. I'm really excited for you to start watching these movies because you're going to get more references, you're going to get more backstory. But this film does a great job of telling you everything. Like you could just walk into this film as somebody who hasn't watched Star Trek and enjoy it because this movie was here to save Star Trek. Because in 1989, Star Trek V came out, and it's the worst Star Trek movie ever made. There are things to like, but it's not good. That's the one we've got. And season 2 of The Next Generation was on TV. And that's one of the worst seasons of Star Trek ever. Because there was a huge writer's strike. Star Trek nearly didn't survive into the 90s. And Nicholas Meyer, who wrote The Wrath of Khan, was brought back to write the ship, give us one final big movie and make it good. So him and Leonard Nimoy, Spock, put this movie together. And my goodness, does it show.
Well,
anything else before we go in?
You know, I really don't like, I don't feel like I have been properly lubed, but at the same time...
I'll keep going. I'll give you 60 years of history.
Okay, here we go.
No.
It'd be really funny if you actually did, like in real life, you just started talking about it. And then for the podcast, we just made your voice speed up like a chipmunk and you just like zipped all the way through it all.
So it all started in 23... Any final questions, Ambassador?
When are we going to go to a Star Trek convention?
The 56th anniversary 56-year mission convention is in Vegas in August. I'll see you there.
Okay.
I think it's in August. Cool. With that, we will see you in 10 Forward for a full debrief of Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we... Oh, Ambassador, there's somebody at our seat.
I'll go kick him out. Let me go boot.
What?
Excuse me, sir. You are in the captain's seat.
Oh, I thought I could sit wherever I wanted.
Nope.
Are you the Jeremy Scott?
That's me. I'm a fleet commander.
What is that? The fleet commander? I'm so sorry. I wasn't aware that you were doing a surprise. Why are you drinking that?
You don't announce an inspection. You just show up. Otherwise, they have time to get ready.
Okay, but does fleet commander outrank ambassador?
I don't know.
It's weird. It's
So the
weird.
answer is no. That's great. Just wanting to make sure that I understand the pecking order of the show today. That's all. Hi,
All we
Jeremy.
know is that I'm bottom.
Tom Cruise in Maverick. I refuse to get promoted. I've just been at the same rank for 30 years.
You're just a test pilot the entire time. That's pretty cool. You're with the Excelsior, just in space stock, never going anywhere. And then
That's me.
Sulu steals it from you. Like, what? Son of a bitch, why are you getting to fly the ship?
Hi, Jeremy. Welcome to Captain's Pod.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, for anyone who's listening to Captain's Pod that doesn't know who Jeremy is, who are you? What are you doing here? Why do you love Star Trek? Don't wait for the translation. Answer me now.
Oh, don't wait for the translation. I run with my business partner a little operation called CinemaSins that has ballooned into this weird 7-employee joke-making enterprise where we get to do this kind of crap and sit around and talk about what we love, like Star Trek. I love Star Trek because my mom loved Star Trek. My mom loved the original series, and as the movies came out, of course, we didn't go to the movie theater when I was growing up, but we would watch the movies as the, films came out. And then when Next Generation came on, she put me right down in front of the TV and said, this is going to be good. And yeah, it's one of the handful of pieces of entertainment that my mom just basically directly injected into my veins.
That's amazing.
I have been a Trek fan since I was 6 years old.
It's amazing how much it's almost like being like indoctrinated into a cult. Like my dad was so like backdoor about it. He was just like, "You're just going to be watching this. This will be what you spend many, many hours watching. So just settle in."
And tattooing your body about.
Yes. Speaking
It's
of
a
the
cool
Enterprise,
tattoo, also.
Yeah, it is.
I'm trying to work out the next one. The problem is like the saucer section on the Enterprise D is too unwieldy to be put onto my tiny little bicep. Like I need to get some bigger arms.
I don't know how you went anywhere without first getting that insignia right on your chest.
Right,
tattooed.
where it just kind of feels like getting the Superman symbol there. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'd just be constantly looking at myself in the mirror, tapping it, going, regard to engineering.
But I do that anyway. I guess it would be nice to have like some function behind it.
I do that anyway.
Why are you constantly bruised just above your left nipple? It's just I tap it a lot. That's all.
I was thinking about, so what was the name of the ship that appears in this one? That Sulu? Is it right? I'm not
It's
gonna
the Excelsior.
Okay.
Excelsior.
That is a beefy ship. Like that's one that goes on the ass cheek. So just so you know, that's a bubble butt one.
Your note for that, that was it. Deneé, my very first note was Deneé called the Excelsior a bubble butt. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about
It's just like
that.
this big juicy butt. It's like
That's a
this,
thick ass.
it was a thick ass ship.
I like my ships thick and manned by George Takei.
I really loved it. I thought it was a really pretty ship.
It's gorgeous.
It is, but the thing is, in space, you don't have to worry about wind resistance, right?
No.
So you could have a ship that's just a giant square, like the Borg.
Borg.
Literally.
And it could be as fast as any sleek designed or any thick-ass ship that you see.
It is strange, and we're going to get straight into sinning Star Trek in general, awesome. But how many, like, alien ships have exactly the same format? It's basically like two nacelles, a main body, and some kind of front bit. I was like, is somebody designing the same ships for everybody?
That's why I loved Nero's ship in Abrams' 2009 Star Trek, because it looked like this inverted porcupine thing. It looked like
Daggers just
nothing
coming
I'd
out.
ever seen. All those tendrils coming out.
Are you watching Strange New Worlds, Jeremy?
Not quite yet, but it's one of those that I'm waiting for it to finish so I can binge.
Oh, okay. There's a couple. I think there's been a couple of ships that are like interestingly shaped, where it's like, okay, that's not expected. But this one was like that's carrying a lot of people or something, because it's just
it's carrying a lot of juice.
It's carrying all those gaseous anomaly equipment things.
Goodness. It's so dumb. I mean, it's a brilliantly written film, but there are some dumb things. Right. That's
before
yes.
we no. I have to do two more things. I have to do two more things.
Okay.
One is because we rarely have Jeremy time. I have to show Jeremy your ship that you made. Here it comes.
No, don't do it.
Just like every other ship, it's got two nacelles and then a core and then like a front bridgey thing.
But it's
That's
got like
beautiful.
some like janky. It started off as the Enterprise D, but then the saucer section was too heavy.
I mean,
And then-
for people not able to see this, Deneé, you could have told me your daughter made that, and I would have believed you.
Okay, can I tell you the worst part? The worst part of this is that the clay that we were playing with, which is a polymer clay, so you form it and then you bake it and it makes it into like a hard substance, and then we were going to paint them. This is actually flesh toned underneath this gray. It's just this flesh.
It looked just like a leg
So
that I just like formed into an enterprise.
The other thing is, I wanted to show you natural pyrite. Have you ever seen pyrite like this?
I think I've seen something like this. What are we doing?
So we went to the Smithsonian together, and we went to the section that they the minerals wing of the Smithsonian, and we were just like, look at the Borg cubes.
Oh, I see.
Polished chrome crashed Borg cubes.
I mean, literally everything was Dungeons and Dragons related. It was a spell that was cast in the ground that exploded some shit, or we're like Borg cube. So when we got to the gift shop, we spent probably 30 minutes taking every single pyrite down and calculating which one was the most accurate.
They were like kids that were trying to get in. And I was like, fuck you, kids. Like,
This is the Borg cube section.
This is serious. You don't just pick one of these at random.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So-
We need to reassess our lives. It was amazing.
No, we don't.
Nerds.
Nerds! This is theology cast, in case you were here for something else.
Okay, sorry. I had to geek out like that first.
So, we are actually here, rather randomly, to talk about the undiscovered country, Star Trek 6. Now, my logic, and I think I explained this in the intro, my logic is we can't do 2, 3, 4, because that's a trilogy. And we need to, I can't just dive in with Star Trek 4. Deneé needs to see that Search for Spock trilogy all as one thing. Star Trek 5, anyway, Star Trek 6 is just the next logical place to start, because the motion picture, they haven't finished filming it yet. So we can't actually watch that. It's not a complete movie because it's so fucking long. But it is beautiful. But Star Trek 6 is an awesome place to jump in. Jeremy, what's your man, did you see the undiscovered country at the cinema? That must have been awesome.
I did, and it was awesome. That's the first Trek movie I saw in the theaters, because that's the
awesome.
first Trek movie that I was old enough to do so without parental units even knowing about it. So it was an extra special experience for me, especially the way this film opens with that score. The score for this movie is incredible. And it just swells and swells and swells, and then boom, there's this big explosion, and you're blown out of your mind. This is my very favorite Star Trek film overall.
Oh, that's
it competes heavily with J.J. Abrams' 2009 Star Trek and Wrath of Khan from 1980. This is the one I come back to the most. So you really lucked out in having me on for this particular episode.
That worked out really well, and we will never ever reveal why we just so happen to be talking about this specific Star Trek.
You'll never figure.
Never ever know. So, based on like the primer that I gave you before we went in today, what were you expecting? And just really briefly, like, how did it line up with just overall thoughts? What you ended up with?
Okay, this exceeded my expectations. I will say that. Yeah.
Yay!
Well, I never watched the original series ever. So the only thing that I have are the little clips of like tribbles or the Gorn fight that you showed me.
I just asked Deneé to Google the Gorn, and she just said it was like 30 seconds of laughter. I was like, this wasn't on TV.
I could not believe what I was seeing. Like, so
It was wild back then.
Oh, and the other thing you know is
yes, I fucking know that song. God damn it, stop. Shit.
Get up, dude. I don't think he's kidding.
Nope.
So this was it was exactly what I thought it was going to be and more.
Amazing.
I have an unexpected craving to own a rip away bib shirt now, because there's several moments in this that like they really interact with their gear, which I love seeing. Like if
McCoy, like every other scene is just like, fuck this, just rips it off. And I can just see like the prop department being like, stop it.
no, I love it. The sound of like the little like all of the little things popping. I loved that so much.
I still don't know why. Like it's probably my favorite uniform, but I don't know why they do the casual. I don't know what that thing
just,
is. Other than to show blood.
if your chest needs to breathe, man. If your torso's a little warm, you just. I love that they're still using like essentially Velcro in the 23rd century or what have you.
I thought it sounded very snap-like. I don't know, but I was fascinated by it. And I also was like, what is the function of it? It doesn't denote like casualness. So if it's up, then it's like business. But then when
it's
it
like
comes down, it's yeah. Does it have a slit in it to where you can like slide in ice packs if you're kind of hot?
Oh, that's amazing. McCoy's is like hiding a hip flask or something. That's definitely
of course.
I'm going to derail your podcast for a second.
Yeah.
Because I can. I went to this place, Dutch Brothers Coffee, the other day. It's kind of new in my area. I don't know if you have it where it's basically Starbucks, but they have other stuff. Anyway, I went through the drive-thru, and it looked like it was going to rain. And the drive-thru, they have girls and guys standing out there with little iPads, and they take your order. And then when you pull up to the window, you've already paid, and they just hand you a drink. And I said to the girl, "What do you do if it rains?" And she says, "Get wet." And I said, "What do you do when it's 100 degrees?" And she said, "Oh, they make us wear an ice hug." He's got one on, and she points over to this other dude out there taking orders, and he's got this little square-looking vest that goes over his shoulders with straps, and I guess there's ice blocks in the front and back to keep the children from heat stroke.
That's amazing.
When they're out working, and I've never heard of that before. So maybe the Starfleet uniform is a slot for ice.
Yeah.
It's an ice hug uniform.
It's an ice hug.
It must be. I imagine that's a really quick way to get a cold because like that massive like change in temperature, you're going to get warm again pretty quick. It just
I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe the material is made of something that doesn't let it get too cold. I don't know. I've never heard of an ice hug. Does it have like a little
string in the back you pull and it kind of turns on like an engine, like vroom, 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 and then it just like circulates.
All the ice cubes fall out.
It just falls out.
My name's Woody. No, wrong string.
One of the things I loved the most about this, like watching this, is that because I know these figureheads of of Star Trek, but I haven't watched a lot, I was seeing how they interact for the first time, but also seemingly at their at the peak of it all, right before they kind of pass everything off. So it seemed like
1 week from retirement,
they were all like with knowing that this was essentially the last hurrah, and they were really getting into their characters and really amping things up. And so they were playing into those roles. Whereas like if I was to watch the series, maybe there's like a downswing in energy on a couple of episodes because they've got 700 more that are coming out.
Or the entirety of season 3. That last series of TOS is rough.
The stakes were different because it's a movie, obviously, but then also you could just feel that there was an importance to it. So that was really fun for me too. I felt like it was a really smart introduction to these characters. And yeah, I likened it, Jeremy, to when I watch WWE wrestling and like The Undertaker comes back and it's just like a geriatric experience where we're entertained, but we're also worried about their age. It didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like that at all. It kind of like they were all having fun. There was like the fight with Shatner, where it's just really all tells and stuff, but I'm having a really good time watching it. I also love that I'm realizing the more that I watch Star Trek with you that they do a really fun thing where sometimes it's a mystery and sometimes it's a romance and sometimes it's it's an adventure. They kind of have these normal storytelling, things that they do, but it's in space. And I didn't realize how much I liked that. I don't think I realized when I was watching TNG that it was sort of doing those things. And but this one was like a courtroom drama mixed with mystery, mixed with murder. And I just didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, it's like a conspiracy murder thriller.
Yeah.
I've heard people more eloquently go through the entire Trek movie line and say, this first movie is a philosophical think piece. The second movie is a submarine thriller. The third movie is this. And this movie always ends up being called like a murder investigation or a murder mystery. And it really is. What if you take these characters we know in this situation we know, and this time the wrinkle is murder mystery, and it just works so well, especially having Spock sort of playing your stand-in for Sherlock Holmes, kind of leading the investigation.
Yeah.
It just lines up perfectly. Not so much for Uhura and Chekhov, but we'll get to that later.
We'll absolutely be getting to that. That's one of the few times I paused the movie was to Uhura, yeah, she's been done dirty in this film.
It's also a strangely timed moment because in Strange New Worlds, and this isn't too much of a spoiler, I don't think, for you, Jeremy, there is an interesting correlation where Spock is at the helm in both the episode we just watched of Strange New Worlds and in this one. So it was an interesting sort of like where somebody has to take over the lead in an unexpected sort of way. I really liked, I had a good time. I didn't expect to have as good of a time. I was a little worried because I know that this is a big deal. Like, this one's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. I'm glad she enjoyed it.
I loved it.
Me too.
Oh my gosh, did I love it. I mean, I have questions, but I loved it. I have lots of questions.
We'll get into the questions. It's one of the beauties of Star Trek as a genre is it can go anywhere. It can be a disaster thing like the Titanic. It can be murder mystery like Poirot and Sherlock Holmes. And as long as you've got characters that you enjoy being with, for all of Shatner's flaws and whatnot, this crew is so much fun. Even in Star Trek V, they're still fun to hang out with. But in this one, the pairing is so great. Like, I love that Spock is in charge. I love that McCoy and Shatner just accidentally themselves into a trial. Like, they go from being on the ship, like accidentally, or something's fired on the bird of prey. They volunteer to go over. They're arrested. They go on trial. And before they know it, they're on this like ice planet. And they're like, the fuck did we get here? Like, we're still in the same uniform.
That whole time, they never once changed clothes.
No! Which I only just noticed on this watch. They beam back, they take off the big fuzzy jackets. I was like, wait, you're still in uniform?
It should be like the end of The Martian where they're like, you stink, man.
Like bad.
Really gross. Oh, man. The first thing I always notice when I kick off this movie, and eventually we'll leave the first 5 minutes, but not right now, is how muted it is compared to Star Trek V. So the Star Trek V opening is this huge thing. Like the opening titles are transported in with the big transporter effect noise. And this is just like this really muted, dramatic score with a really subdued title. And then, bam, the explosion. And then like you're on the bridge with Sulu and it's like, oh shit. And it kind of just doesn't stop. It just keeps on going. It's so well paced.
Absolutely. I love the reveal there that Sulu is a captain. There's not this, I think a lesser movie would have a scene before this where somebody's like, hey, he's captain now, and then they cut to it. Like, but it's just, we know these characters. This makes perfect sense when you see Sulu at the helm or at the in the captain's chair. You're like, oh yeah, that's a logical progression of where he would be in his Starfleet career. And of course, they finally took Excelsior out of space dock.
Finally. And it's only this time that I've noticed it's not, and I'm such a nerd, it's not the NX 2000 anymore. It's the NCC 2000. Because it's finally not an experimental ship. It is actually... So for 5 movies, this thing has been... And I think it covers like 12 years. I was like, it's been an experimental ship for 12 years? Like, how badly did Scotty fuck it up?
It's like that plane they've been trying to build for the U.S. Navy for the last 15 years.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it took too long in the experimental phase.
Well, I love it. I absolutely love it. Right, Deneé, you had questions. I think that's a good place to dive in.
Okay, the most predominant, like the one that's just always at the top of my mind is, can you tell me more about these ice dogs and how...
With the one single tooth?
No, it was several. So, like, do you ever go behind the scenes and so like the making of stuff? Because I desperately wanted to figure out the mouth headpiece that they had to strap on to, and like what kind of a breed dog was under that mask. I know this is a really, really specific question to start off with. I have more that are more related to the actual like show and shit.
I was ready for some like treaties to talk about or like some engineering stuff, and you're just like, that toothy dog.
How big is that mask on that dog?
That dog is so cute. Like all I could think of was like, oh, it's so cute. Oh God, those all big teeth, but oh, look at the cute puppy.
Yeah,
I just wanted to know more about it.
I've never done that research, but I'm positive it was on a real dog.
Okay, well,
I'm sure it was a real 100%.
Dog. The dog was real, and then they just strapped a mask to the face. It was really cleverly done too. I always really I think the word is just respect the way that things are shot, like the way that directors know. Okay, we're gonna have this clear shot of this dog's face. We don't want it to last long enough that they see the straps of the mask.
Right. Quick shot.
And I was on it. Every time that dog was, I was like, almost just looking so carefully because I was super into that dog.
Where's the duct tape holding it on? But Jeremy, do you know? Do you know?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
you look like you might know.
I will admit that my most recent viewing of this movie, that was just for random reasons and not for anything in particular,
Wasn't detailed at all.
I did notice the dog masks, and I did wonder for a second. My thought was more, what is the breed of dog that has the temperament to accept that mask for however long? I'm sure it was pretty brief, but still, not every dog would even let you put something like that on their face.
Like a Newfoundland or something. And there was a big dog as well.
It was a big dog. And now these days, they just CGI that crap and it would look awful.
It would. That's what I'm saying. Like, it looked really interesting to me.
But back then, they didn't have that capability, so they had to be inventive enough to make it themselves. It's a really great practical effect, but I have no idea how they do.
It's actually on a big cat.
I want someone to 3D print like different sizes so that I could put it on my dogs for Halloween, because how cool would that be?
Oh, man.
Right? Like go full on Starfleet.
That's awesome. But then you have to dress up like the dude from Repente. Like, you have to dress up like the prison boss.
I'll dress up like her, and I'll have an outfit change halfway through and come out like as a hairy beast, and then everyone can be appalled, you know.
Yeah.
Oh God, no! And then,
did you know that you kissed that last night? Oh, don't remind me.
Don't remind me.
And then for the third act change, I'll send Iris out and really freak everyone out.
Yes, to send that little girl. I was like, how'd you do that?
She'll be
But
dressed
the voice doesn't change. Anyway, that's for later. That's a sin. That's later on.
Okay. Here's a real question. There was something that was mentioned. What is mothballing of Starfleet?
That would be retiring the military aspect, retiring the spaceship, dismantling their
because mothballs are put into the clothing when you store it away.
Yes.
So it's like...
Yes. That is not a Trek. In fact, I'm surprised that mothballing is even a reference that they even still use in that era.
It doesn't make sense.
But that's what it means.
That happens so much in this one. There are so many references to things, and I'm like, you're still talking about that? Like,
that thing's got to have a tailpipe. What? You guys are still using gas? What the hell?
Tailpipe? Why? Yeah, okay, that makes sense, because in my head, when I heard it, I was like, mothballing. That must be like a really cool like move, like slingshotting around the sun.
No, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because like the Klingons aren't the only enemy. Like, you wouldn't mothball all of Starfleet just because the neutral zone doesn't exist anymore. Like, you still need it for other things. So it was one of those, we need to present two extreme sides of an argument here to show how racist Kirk has now become and how pissed off he is. Man. But one of my favorite, like Shatner always baffles me with his performances, because sometimes I'm right there with him and I'm like, fuck yeah, man, get it. But then I think it is down to the direction so much, because there's some movies where he's just unwatchable. But when he's having that debate with Spock, after he's just outraged that Spock has volunteered him for this peace mission, and Spock's just like, they're going to die, Jim. He's like, let them die. Like, oh. Yeah. And that's like, that's not what you see from your Starfleet captains very often. And I kind of like it.
I like the performance. I don't like the writing that gets him there. But I think you're right. This is one of his better performances. And I think this and Wrath of Khan are his two best. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it's the same director, Nicholas Meyer, and that in between films, he was largely being directed by either himself or Nimoy.
Both people he doesn't get on with.
But not yet. He doesn't get on with either of those people. So, yeah, I think Nicholas Meyer has a lot to do with kind of pulling those performances out. I think Nimoy gives one of his better performances in all the films in this film. Again, I don't like the writing that props up this new Vulcan chick to be his protege out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But I love what that gives Nimoy a chance to do with the character throughout the arc of this film. I really enjoy his.
It must be really interesting for you, Deneé, with Spock, because you're seeing in Strange New Worlds a very
I have a Spock crush, Jeremy.
Oh, Ethan Peck he's a great Spock on Strange New Worlds.
Awesome.
His voice is like 10 octaves lower than a human can usually go. It is so like commanding.
Interesting.
No, yeah, it is. It is interesting to see him like towards a different level of progression. Like I remember seeing him in something that I watched. Maybe it was a movie where he had died or something. I don't remember. I don't really remember. I need to watch them all again. So I know I've seen Nimoy in other things as Spock, but I don't recall the storyline except for I'm pretty sure he was dead, or they had to go find him, or maybe he was dead in one timeline and then he came back in another timeline or something.
Well, see, now I was gonna ask if you've seen any Kirk, Spock, crew stuff, whether it's J.J. Abrams or original series or these movies with Shatner.
I saw the what? So here's what I remember. God damn it! Here's what I remember that I've seen.
Oh no!
There was a really, really pretty ship with lots and lots of like light blurs on the screen, and it was
that'll be
that's
J.J.
what I
Abrams.
saw.
That's the 2009 one, and Nimoy is in that.
Okay.
Even though there's a different Spock in that.
Oh
movie.
no, you're right. He's in a different timeline. Yeah, he's been put. Nero was Nemo. Nero was chasing.
Not Nemo.
Nemo. That's completely different. Although they were trying to find Spock, so like, you think you can do these things? No, he's definitely in the wrong timeline at that point, and in the past.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was weird for me because there was a lot of context I was missing.
My goodness, how strange!
The only thing that I knew was this is a big deal, and I honor that by watching it and being like,
Oh
cool,
man, the
do your
entire
shit.
Just to derail the podcast again, I got to see an early screening of that with maybe 30 people. And this is the only time I've seen a standing ovation in a theater for a movie. Like, we got to the end and everybody like basically saluted at the end of the film. Like, that was an intense experience. And when Spock turned up, it was just a collective. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's pretty fucking cool.
So in Strange New Worlds, Spock is like really young and finding his he has a history with Kirk already when Strange New Worlds starts. So that they know each other and that they're friends and that they've worked together. But then there's still this development. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Pike. There's still this development with Pike that I'm watching, happen. And so fast forward to him in Star Trek 6, where he has all this history and all the stuff he's experienced. And it is very interesting to see like how he emulates emotion and things like the moment when he did the mind meld and tried to extract information. That was so fucking intense. I was like, oh shit, he's crossing boundaries in front of people. 100%. Like everyone's like, oh shit, like, oh fuck, this is awesome.
What I love about that moment, I'm sorry, I'm going to geek out for a second. What I love about that moment is Nimoy plays it perfectly. You can tell that he is troubled by what he's doing. He knows that this is not 100% kosher, but he has to do it. Of course, he doesn't, because as soon as they're done, he says, just call Sulu. He'll know where it is.
Sulu has the coordinates.
But I love the anguish that he has in his face while he's doing it. Again, I think Nimoy is one of the best performances in this movie.
It's so intense. Yeah, and there's like this love I have for these characters that's growing, but it's weird because I feel like you guys had almost a better experience because you've watched stuff grow, and I'm like hopping around inside of these things, and it's very disjointed and disconnected in a way. But at the same time, I can conceptualize that this is a big deal or whatever. Specifically,
it also gives you a perspective we can't have because we have all this history with these characters. True. It gives you a fresh look, which I appreciate.
The other thing that was really hard to kind of grasp in that relationship with Spock and the crew that is kind of confusing for me is the Kirk stuff with his son. So we start off, and I'm missing a whole bunch of context, I know, but it's just like, why the fuck would these people make Kirk extend the olive
save it for
branch?
Engineering.
That just, and I understand that it's like, it's a really big thing for the audience to eat because you guys know, and it's like, what the hell? And it gives you something to kind of think about as you watch it. Maybe? I don't know.
I don't know.
What I was gonna say was that I wouldn't worry too much because 99.9% of the development happens in like 3 movies, and like not even the one preceding this. Like the original series, it's extremely episodic. There's Kirk and McCoy have like the closest relationship, I think, but it's really the Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, The Voyage Home, and this movie where you see the crew gel together. So most of what we feel about the original series, I think, comes from these movies anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Overall, for me, the big like kind of moments that sort of stood out that I really really enjoyed were all the interactivity with the crew, and it was just a lot of fun. You guys talk about like the things that stand out for you that are different from me. Like, what was one of the big moments for you guys? Because everything is different from me. So, what's like a big standout? I'm kind of curious.
You first, Jeremy.
Oh, well, the biggest moment in all of these films is when Sulu shows up. And that final battle where he shows up and says, "Let's give him something else to shoot at," to the point where they create the heat-seeking torpedo to where Sulu says, "Target that explosion and fire," and it just gives me chills because it feels, I don't know what it is. It's not just the Enterprise and Kirk anymore. It's Sulu, but it's not just that it's Sulu. It's like the crew has sort of created their own. I don't know how to explain it. It just feels absolutely perfect.
I think it really is that Sulu has grown, and the crew are actually given things to. Like, everybody on that bridge is a captain, an admiral, or a commander. Like, Chekhov is a commander. Like, he should not be manning the helm. Like, yes. Uhura is a commander as well. Scotty is a commander. Spock is a captain. And, it's awesome to see. It's that loyalty where Sulu throughout the film is like, sorry, Starfleet, haven't got a clue where the Enterprise is. It's like, Christian Slater, are you hard of hearing? Go and tell them that we don't know where the ship is.
That was fun.
And he's like, I trust Captain Kirk. I trust this crew. I'm going to swoop in and I'm going to be there for them. And
that was pretty cool.
That direction from Maya at the end is so, so great. Even the over-dramatic, okay, Kirk, you're going to take one step forward, you're going to fist it and fire. And it's just sort of
fire. Like, when that happened, I got so excited. There was a couple moments, like, we had to stop because I had questions. But that was one where we stopped and we're like, fire. Like, really getting into it.
Before he gets there, they're like, the ship's got to fly apart. And Sulu's like, fly apart.
Oh, fire apart. It's so great.
He is determined. I'm going to go help my buddies. God, I love it.
Damn it, fly apart. It's just so, so good. Oh,
what about you, Ian? What was one of the big standout things for you in this one, just as a long time Trekkie person?
For me, in theory, I should be really annoyed at this movie for having the Klingons be the bad guys again. Because the original series has done that to death just in these movies. But Chang is so freaking good. Christopher Plummer is incredible. You can laugh that they base like his entire persona off of Shakespeare, but I think it's great because you have something to latch onto. He has so much character from that, and he's obviously a well-read individual. He's latched onto this obscure Klingon author that we've never heard of, but all of his quotes sound oddly familiar. And it's so much fun just to hear him randomly quoting Shakespeare in these dramatic moments. Like, the ship has been, like, blown on its ass. There's no gravity. And he's still quoting Shakespeare at Kirk. Because, like, have you no decency, man? It's brilliant.
So I have a question about all of that. And this is something, and I was like, something is lost on me here. So when they come over, the Klingons beam over, they have a very awkward coming to dinner.
Yes, who's coming to dinner?
And then they leave, and it's mentioned like, well, that didn't go well. And I was like, well, no, it didn't. But is the reason that it didn't go well because the Klingons were far more understanding of the human culture and race, that they were quoting Shakespeare and meaning where they were, and here these humans have no understanding. They're not talking about anything to do with Klingon culture. No. They're not trying to reach across all of the dialogue is geared towards the audience that's watching this movie who understands these references.
Man, I think this movie is a casual indictment of racism, man. Like, I think the Enterprise crew is just racist in that entire dinner. Just in a very shamefully casual way. They even after they're gone, they're like, "Oh,
they smell.
How bad they smell."
Table manners.
And I think that's the point of the scene, to show you that the Klingons are oddly less racist than the Federation people.
I wrote down so many times like they are so polite and cordial, and I don't remember. I watched TNG. And for me, the Klingons always had more headgear going on. They had more prosthetics. So these are like
definitely.
super human looking Klingons. And I was really distracted by that. I was like, where are my Klingons?
Of course. These aren't my Klingons. These ones came first.
What is happening right now? Where's all their like head swoops?
Just wait till you see the Into Darkness Klingons. Then you
Oh my goodness.
blown.
You haven't seen the Discovery Klingons as well, man.
No.
That's a whole other thing.
So I think by the end, I realized that the reason they sounded so well-spoken and cordial was because of the universal translators, which I was missing. So I feel like the movie is saying that they weren't speaking English. They were speaking Klingon, but then we were hearing it in like translated. So that kind of helped me calm down a little bit because I was like, they are super cordial. They're so polite. They're all of these things that they're supposed to be. They're way more appealing to sit down with than any of the Starfleet at this table, which is exactly the point you're making, Jeremy. So when they were like, that didn't go well, I was like, yeah, because you guys fucked that up.
You fucked up. You compared him to Hitler.
That's exactly right. Are you saying? I'm not sure they were using a universal translator all that time.
You don't think?
I mean, it's impossible to know because the lips always match what their English is saying.
Chang clearly knows English.
Yeah, I think they are speaking English. I don't think that's the translator. There isn't
Then that makes it even worse.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. They have learned our language. We haven't bothered to learn anything about them. Yeah.
You can't even put a sentence together. Uhura, communications officer. Never mind, we'll get to that in ReSINstance.
Which probably
If you are a Federation communications officer for 30 years and you don't learn Klingon, you are the worst communications officer ever.
It's like not learning German in the 30s. Like how it's insane. Well, I mean, so it's one of my favorite points of this film is that Starfleet are the bad guys. Like Starfleet have fired a small cabal from Starfleet has come up with this assassination with the Klingons. The entire crew admits that we're old, and the Chancellor Gorkon is like, look, if this piece is going to happen, people like me and you, Kirk, our generation, are going to have to fuck off and die. And I'm like, isn't that oddly prescient? Like, we are dealing with exactly the same thing that we were in 1991. And I love that the crew they acknowledge it, but also they still do it. Like Uhura cuts herself off mid-sentence because he's basically slurping some like alien spaghetti. And I was like, man, you could catch me with a mouthful of food. It doesn't make me like a evil person. Like, don't ask me questions when I'm eating. Like, shut up.
I wonder how much of that scene is really geared like purposefully, or if they realized the statement that they were making. Because I just wondered, like, did I miss something that didn't go well? That wasn't like, does the audience understand that what didn't go well is that they were so unprepared to have a highly intellectual conversation with a species, because that's what went wrong. And I don't even know that the crew actually, when they said, well, that didn't go well, they obviously are missing something. So for that to be part of the undertone of this movie to get to the end and how they got to the end, I think I agree with you, Jeremy, what you said earlier about the writing doesn't really bring that to life, but I feel like the spirit of what they're doing is still there. Like they went for something without maybe the dialogue to back it up.
It has to have been intentional in that scene and all throughout, because Kirk's entire arc is, they had to make him extra racist in the beginning because his arc is at the end, he has realized, I do need to fuck off and die. It's not about me, it's about the next generation.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have that arc, if he doesn't start out hating the Klingons extra mean and whatnot. But yeah, I think like Ian was saying, Starfleet is the bad guy here. And I think they knew what they were doing when they made, I choose to believe they did. If it, otherwise, it's just this accidental, perfect poem of, I don't know. It has to be on purpose.
I'm certain it's on purpose, because of the year that it came out. So it's being filmed and written in 1990. So the Berlin Wall is coming down. Our neutral zone in the real world is being dismantled. The old people that built it are still going to hate the Germans, hate the Russians, and they're going to need to move on and stop. Like, the neutral zone is an allegory for the Berlin Wall coming out. It's always been my interpretation of it anyway. The most deliberate line that I love so much is when Chekhov, bless him, says that they believe that all civilizations have the right to like inalienable human rights. I was like,
Yeah.
and he just gets called out on it so quick. It's like, are you fucking kidding? Inalienable human rights. This is a table of Vulcans and Klingons. Like, what are you doing? And it's so great. It's so deliberate because that's exactly what humans do. We would go out into space and push our human values, humanize everything. It's like, no, sometimes people like to fight.
Is he the one that says Kipton?
Kipton. Yeah, why didn't they just vaporize it?
It's Kipton.
Kipton.
I wrote that down. I was like, this is so cute. Kipton.
Oh man, whenever I cannot, and I'm such a bad person for this, but I cannot overtake in traffic without going incoming and just like overtaking somebody in traffic.
I do have a couple questions before we go on and finish up our what we loved and then get to the sins of the show. But Did you guys? So when they were speaking Klingon, was there anything on the screen that told you what they were saying? Because I didn't have that on mine. So that was I always find that an interesting choice. That it's not, and I don't know if it was because of the one that I was watching. Like maybe I didn't hit a button correctly and I had stuff turned off.
Yeah, the version that we watched didn't have subtitles, and it would have done usually. Yeah,
in the movie. Okay. So
I was going to say I got text on screen for all the Klingons. So
I didn't, and that was a really interesting thing that actually happened when we were sending. We sent the TV show
Discovery. That was the pilot of Discovery, which just starts with like a Klingon speech.
Well, and that happened to me in Discovery as well, where it didn't have for some reason when the watcher that I was watching on, there was a mistake. So I thought that it was a purposeful choice to put the audience into a position where we don't understand what's being said, and it's the acting and what happens. Like you have to piece together with context clues. And I love it when movies do that. But as it progressed throughout the whole movie, I feel like I missed some stuff there on what the Klingons were talking about and going for. So I would probably need to watch that again. I just wondered if you guys had subtitles or not.
I was going to bring that up because, and I can't separate the fact that I've seen this movie 20 times from. So for me, I was like, oh, they did this really well. I know what's going on even without the subtitles. I was like, wait, you know where this story goes, Ian. You might be cheating. But for me, the context clues were kind of there.
But it's so interesting to listen to these people speaking this made-up language and just giving it their all. And it's such a guttural language as well, and so aggressive sounding.
One of my very favorite episodes of Frasier is he's going to go to his son's bar mitzvah. It's not bar mitzvah. It's something where he has to read from the Torah. Maybe it is bar mitzvah. I'm showing my ass right now. Anyway, Frasier goes to the guy that works at the station, Lowell, who's a big Star Trek nerd, but that's not important right now because Lowell knows Hebrew. And he asks Lowell to teach him how to say a blessing in Hebrew. But before they finish with the lessons, the trade-off is Frasier's supposed to go to this Star Trek convention and get an autograph for Lowell, but Frasier blows it off. So Lowell, without telling anybody, teaches Frasier how to do the blessing in Klingon.
Oh, no, that's amazing.
And so it cuts to I'll have to find a clip of this and send it to you. It cuts to the bar mitzvah, and Frasier walks up to do the blessing, and it's like, and he starts doing it in Klingon. It does the whole thing. Oh, it's one of my favorite moments.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, that's so good.
I wanted to make sure you knew that somebody
exists.
at some point made a whole language. That's a real language now that like people like learn and speak to each other.
The second language. There's a few towns and villages somewhere, I think in Denmark or Europe somewhere, that have that as their second registered language. Like there are entire communities that speak it. It's so great. I can't get past without just mentioning Kirk revving the engine as he leaves space dock.
You had to explain this to me.
Because I couldn't there's so many moments in this film, but that's one I couldn't let pass without, hey, Deneé, do you know why that's so cool? Because he turns to Valeris and he just like, take us out at 1/2 impulse. And she's just like, Captain, it is the procedure to only go at thrusters. And I'm like, this is like revving the engine and then just wheel spinning out of space dock. This is what he's doing.
Oh.
But this is also the second female Vulcan pilot that has tried to correct him and had to be told, no, he's Kirk. You do what he said. Because they do that with Kirstie Alley in Wrath of Khan. You go right on quoting regulations, he says to her afterwards. Yeah.
Because she was right. She's like, hey, raise the shields. And he's like, nah, I'm not going to raise the shields. And then just kills Scotty's nephew because of that. So, like, screw you, Kirk. Keep quoting those regulations.
It's one of my favorite parts, and we've mentioned it in episodes previous, so not trying to be too repetitive here, but it's one of my favorite parts of watching this material with a super nerd is learning these little things. It's like watching a pop-up video, but you know, where you kind of pause and you have like a quick chat about it or something, like you'll mention something. You'll set the stage for me a little bit. It's like the previously on Ian's version of previously on a little bit. Like, it's great. Like, I love it.
Why is Ian spinning in his chair? Wait for it. Cry havoc.
Yeah. It's like that.
It's so great. Man, just wait until you watch The Wrath of Khan with me. That's going to be on another level.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Man, it's so good. Jeremy, anything positive, amazing you want to get off your chest before we move on?
I do always appreciate when Michael Dorn shows up to play who I think I've been told is like an ancestor of Worf's.
So
it's not Worf?
Of course it's not Worf. That would make him 200 years old.
I don't know how Klingons age. What the fuck? That's a sin. That's a goddamn sin. I was so fucking excited about Worf. I was like, Worf! Oh shit! My boy! What? You can't take that away from me?
That's not Worf. That's not Worf.
Yeah, fuck this movie.
I'm sorry. His voice is so recognizable, and he is the worst legal counsel that has ever been born. He's
terrible. He's terrible. He like blurts out all the wrong shit.
How are they walking without gravity?
I thought this was his backstory.
Fucking gravity. No, this isn't.
I thought this is how he got into Starfleet.
Yeah, he got kicked out of the Klingon Empire for being the shittest lawyer ever to live.
Listen, it's still important. It's an important part of his backstory. It's how he knows he's a warrior. It's because he's a really terrible lawyer.
I think.
I've been thinking about this for days.
Oh my goodness. No, it's not. I'm so sorry. This is amazing.
His head the same, you know? I was like, well, maybe he got into a battle and he got new things, you know?
Yeah, he had modifications. He had like some Botox in his head.
Different.
God damn it.
You got hoodwinked there.
Retroactively, it has been accepted that this is Worf's great-grandfather.
Okay.
And that it is canonically, that is a Colonel Worf, which is odd because he has the same first name. So he should be Colonel Moog, which would be the family name.
So are you saying he's Worf?
He's
Worf.
Worf, yeah.
I did know a woman once in my church whose name was Ruth, and she married a man whose last name was, and her name was Ruth.
Ruth.
Wow.
Oh,
but I mean,
That's
when you're in love,
day.
you don't care about that.
No, you don't care about that.
It doesn't matter.
I'll be double Ruth. I don't care. I'll be Ruth squared.
This is why my college girlfriend called Whittington just never worked. Whittington. It was never going to work between us. Wow, that was groundbreaking.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was really excited. But it's happened before. We were watching an episode where the Ferengi was played by
this was amazing.
The actor who would then go on to play Neelix.
Yes.
And I recognized his voice.
He has such a distinctive voice. And I was like, I wonder, I know Deneé likes Voyager. I wonder if she'll pick up on it. And it bugged her for I let her sit with it for half an hour.
I couldn't think of his name.
I'm not going to tell you who this is. But
no, I knew the character. I knew the character. I was like, I could see him in my mind, but I could not remember the name Neelix. Yep.
He looks like a cat. He's a chef. He's kind of annoying. I was like, no, you just recognize this Ferengi from your browser history somehow.
Do you guys want to be in the friend group that just gets called in for casting calls for doing Star Trek stuff?
100%. They reuse. So the prison warden guard on Rurapente is his fourth role. He's in Voyager. He plays Data's grandfather. He's in this, and he plays somebody in Star Trek 5 as well. You just keep getting gigs with new prosthetics. It's so great.
That's fun.
And the guy who plays Gorkon's been in famous Star Trek roles, right?
David Warner. Yeah. He's Gul Madred. He's actually a human in Star Trek 5. And I think this was an apology. I was like, we're really sorry we did that to you in Star Trek 5. You get to lead the entire Klingon Empire in this movie as a redemption.
Awesome.
So great. Deneé, any other huge positives? Anything that you thought, I love this movie?
Oh, no, I could geek out on this for a long, long time. But I think we should do a little bit of round robin for sins.
Oh, it's way more fun to sin it, as always. With that, let's head over to engineering for ReSInstance's Futile.
Warning. Warp core collapse in 10 seconds.
This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains, remind ourselves that no movie is without sin, even our beloved Star Trek. Oh, okay, Jeremy, you first.
Oh, really? Because I'm coming for this kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Why does it exist? This kitchen exists.
This kitchen has 5 people making roasted turkey and mashed potatoes in a stock pot. And I do not... Star Trek needing a kitchen is not something that computes for me. They have long been able to just poof food into existence. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like they're wasting a lot of money on personnel they don't need here. I also think this is a sneaky Thanksgiving movie because they're making roast turkey and mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
The kitchen also has, I don't know if you noticed, it has a series of 5 dumbwaiters that appear to be like ATM tubes, like pneumatic, you're going to put the roast turkey in this dumbwaiter, and then it goes up and presumably over at some point, because there's only 4 or 5 dumbwaiters. They have to be able to service the whole ship. And if you have dumbwaiters going up to the whole ship, why are you only making 3 or 4 turkeys? You need to be making 60 turkeys.
A lot.
The biggest problem with the kitchen is that when they try to prove why you can't vaporize something on the ship, it's casually revealed, not even spoken of, that in the kitchen, there's an armory just hanging on the wall with lots of phasers in it, because the kitchen may one day be the last line of defense. And we better make sure those fuckers are armed. And then the final sin about the kitchen is when she does vaporize the stock pot, how do the mashed potatoes and the whisk stay there, but the stock pot disappears?
How do they know? Yeah, how does it know to stop at the outer part?
And when it vaporizes people, why doesn't it vaporize the skin and then leave the organs?
And just little juicy red bits flop to the floor.
Yeah.
That's not what happens. So everything about the kitchen in this particular movie drives me batty, and I had to have my say.
Think about that. It's amazing.
Man, it makes me. I absolutely love that. Chekhov is then on stand down duty. Uhura comes running in and says, "Did somebody fire a phaser?" And Chekhov is just get rid of the security guards. Fucking Scotty comes down and he's like, "Who's firing phasers in the galley?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Why is everyone meeting in the galley? Where's security gone? What's going on here?
Who's on the bridge right now? Nobody. You're all down here checking on that alarm."
They're all trying to
so
sneak a little
great.
bit of potatoes. They're secretly there because they're all the kinds of people that when there's somebody cooking, they have to go in and take a little quick snip.
Well, they can now. And how thick were those potatoes? Because they did not move. They were solid. They
I don't want to eat those. Those are concrete potatoes.
No one wants those.
No.
Yeah, you know why? Because they're in space and they don't know how to cook because they have replicators that they should be using.
Decorative kitchen. Yeah, it always baffles me that Chekhov, who was originally a security person, doesn't understand how phasers work and doesn't know that the vaporized setting or firing a phaser will set off all of the alarms. You're the chief of security, Chekhov. How do you not know this shit? What are you doing here?
You could say
Did
that.
You just want to say vaporize?
About him and Uhura the whole movie. That neither one of them.
Yeah.
And even Bones. You haven't learned Klingon anatomy in 30 years?
Okay, that was so confusing. Can we talk about that?
Yes.
He goes running in. This will be my sin. He goes running in and he checks his neck. And then he admits he has no idea about
I don't know what I'm doing.
their anatomy. It's well, then why are you so confidently checking for a pulse if you don't have any idea about their anatomy in the first place? What if there is no pulse?
And then he just starts going, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Doing CPR on a Klingon. It's no, stop it.
And they're just watching. They've just beamed aboard people that they think killed them all. And they're like, yeah, come on in. And just, jump on top of this guy and start dramatically beating his chest and giving him CPR as if he knows their anatomy. Yeah. And you know what? My question was,
wild.
Wow, he knows what he's doing. Cool, doctor's shown up. And then he's on top of him after doing all these things going, I don't really know what I'm doing, guys. And it works. It works
for a few seconds because it brings him back. And
long enough for him to deliver the new,
Don't let this.
The line.
Dying words.
Yeah,
Man,
that was
it's
definitely
wild.
sinful.
Kirk's just like, what are you? Is he going to live? And McCoy's just like, I don't even know what species he is.
I don't even know.
I can't tell you that.
Can't
It's
tell you a
crazy.
thing.
We are going to talk about the purple blood because this is the
Yeah, let's
one.
talk about that.
It's the one bit of the movie that I roll my eyes at a little bit. They were a bit over ambitious with the 3D globules of blood floating through space. It was
Very jelly-esque.
the idea and the concept there was way ahead of the technology that we had to do
I don't
it.
mind that. I just didn't understand how it was purple in one scene, but then whenever they're in the assassination at the end
It's
and the
super
Klingon
red.
dies, he has red blood.
And it's super
Yeah.
graphic,
Super red.
too. It's like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've heard that they went purple to keep it from being graphic, which maybe they did. I don't care. But then at the end, why didn't they go purple to keep it from being graphic?
Yeah.
And to keep it consistent.
Yeah.
The baffling thing for me is that always, and I kind of like this, they always try to explain it. So there is an unofficial explanation that the crew of Kronos 1, the ship that the Chancellor and everybody is on, that's the leading class. So they are of royal blood, and that the royal-blooded Klingons have a slightly different blood type that is purple.
Yeah, okay.
And that's why we never see
Yeah,
it
okay.
again, because on TV you don't get a lot of blood.
I would
So
more,
that's what I'm going to stick
I'm more
to.
likely to buy that it was a Pepto-Bismol product placement than I am
Yeah.
royal blood is
Mhm.
purple.
So much of it. So much of it. Right. What is
Jeremy, you got another one? Oh, is it that was purple blood not yours, Ian?
Yeah, no, I jumped in on everybody's.
It's okay.
Um,
It's fine. It's a conversation of sins.
It's crazy. I'm going to jump right to the end. It always bugs me that the torpedo that Spock and McCoy is working on is moving. I'm just like, what happened?
But that looked cool.
I
It
know,
looked
it's-
cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it looks cool, but it's like, what if like McCoy got his foot stuck, or like, what if they're going to open the doors? There's a point of no return at some point, and do you need? I guess every second counts, but I'm just like, man, this is stressing me out. Like, just work on it, load it, and fire. Like, you're gonna get vented or something. And Spock's already made that trip once. Like, he doesn't need to be fired in a torpedo again.
I'm sorry. Wait. What?
Yeah, that's
Oh, no,
another movie you gotta
no.
watch.
Wait.
Yeah,
Oh,
another
okay.
movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Jeremy.
I'm really bugged by just sort of the technological abilities of things in this movie, right? Because it's not consistent. When the opening scene, Sulu takes off the lens cap of the Excelsior's space camera, magnifies to 50 billion optical zoom, and literally takes a picture of Praxis in half, all the way over in Klingon space. And I was not aware these sorts of cameras were possible. And if they are, then later on our little radio conversation where Enterprise pretends to be a Klingon ship, well, that shouldn't happen. That Klingon outpost should be able to take the lens cap off its space camera and see what the hell kind of ship that is. And that just feels inconsistent to me. And then at the end, when they give the whole movie, actually, they give the Federation the finger and pretend to have a problem. And I look around at my current technology that I'm not allowed to fix myself, or that I can't take anywhere without being tracked by the people who made it. And there's no fucking way Starfleet would not have a bring home button somewhere at the space
100%
dock
an override.
that would just bring that ship home whenever the captain, particularly Kirk, defies
Especially
orders.
Kirk.
You would have a return to home option on that thing. Because freaking in 5 years, cars are going to have that. I got wasted last night. My car's at the bar. Come home, car, and it's going to do it. But starships, they're not going to do that? No. Anyway.
And he has form for stealing the Enterprise. He has literally done it before.
Yes, exactly.
And also Excelsior, the one time you let it out of space dock and it goes rogue as well. Like, none of these ships are going to be out for much longer. Oh man, it's so true. And you would think like that, if they can see Praxis that clearly, man, the Klingons should be pissed because they're going to be spying on the Klingon homeworld as well. Like, it is a moon of Kronos. Like,
See, so
you're just going to be spying on the Klingons.
That's why this ship was in dock for 12 years. It's actually, there's no one living in that whole bottom part. It's just part of the camera.
It's just a new James Webb thing. Yeah, that lens
Just
telescope.
massive,
Yeah.
massive telescope.
Yeah.
The entire bottom part is just a huge
Amazing.
telescope.
It's so great. Deneé.
Oh man, where the fuck did those books come from and why aren't you using a goddamn computer? That drove me. Like, It cuts over. They're like, we have to figure out Klingon. And they suddenly, a library has appeared all over the place.
Where are your pads? Where are your data cards?
This would all be stored in data chips. There's absolutely not a library on this fucking spacecraft where they have tomes and tomes of potential languages.
The Merriam-Webster Klingon dictionary.
Flipping through like, I'm pretty sure. Oh, guys, this is actually the telephone book from the America in 1994. We just happen to have one on board for just for research reasons later, chucking things around. I mean, it was comical and it was a nice little break from the intensity. But it was so fucking stupid. Like they would have a computer that they'd be like, computer, how do I say, oh, don't mind us. We're just coming on through, blah, 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 whatever. They should have had that. And the computer says back, this is how you say it in Klingon. And,
yes, which they have. The Universal Translator does that.
Yeah, just like reverse engineer that shit and be like, blah, 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 but instead it's this humorous thing anyways. I would send the fuck out of that part.
So I know they can't use the Universal Translator because it would give them away somehow. But the computer, like you say, can still talk to them and then they rehash it back. Or like, who wrote the book?
It's so silly.
If Uhura isn't writing the book on silly. Klingon language after
where did they get it?
Years in space. Like, how? And the real kicker is us watching Cadet Uhura in Strange New Worlds, who is like...
Who knows like 60 languages or something.
One of the funniest moments with Deneé, I was like, don't get too attached to Uhura, because as there was some
she gets dumber as she
revolutionary stuff by including her in the original series, but she gets done dirty in the movies. And all of the cool stuff she does in Strange New Worlds, I was like, she just ends up being kind of sidelined.
Underused. Yeah.
So it's
We're
this
gonna
was her
say she
moment
had
to
like
shine.
a head trauma or something.
Yeah. And Scotty comes in with all of the answers. Like, he pushes her to one side, just like, no, you don't want to say that, say this. I was like, fuck you, dude. When did you learn Klingon? Yeah. You can barely speak English.
Yeah. Why are you here? Again, why are you in this room right now? You should be in engineering.
Canadian with a Scottish accent? What are you doing with Klingon?
Anyway, so yeah, I would send that.
Heck yeah.
And I've only got a couple more that I would bring to the table. What about you guys?
Yeah, so my next one was, just the entire court scene. As brilliant as it is just a showcase for Christopher Plummer to eat up some scenery. Yep. Like, the actual, I know it's a show trial, but even for a show trial, it's pretty piss poor. Like, the defense is non-existent. Like, poor old Colonel Worf just comes up with some ridiculous legal arguments and some easily disprovable stuff. And Chang continues to quote Shakespeare, traps them into a corner, and it is just laughable. It's like, man, they never should have agreed to that.
Well, and they play audio of Kirk talking from his captain's log, which we know, I guess, the Vulcan lady overheard is the ultimate explanation for that. But in the moment, Kirk, McCoy, Spock watching on the Enterprise, all the Federation people watching back on Earth, nobody is surprised to hear a captain's log audio being played by our enemy, the Klingon. How the fuck did they get that audio? Even if she overheard it, they had to hack the Enterprise's databases. And I would think a captain's log is the kind of thing you keep pretty secure on your Starship database. And it's just all like she was walking around with a voice recorder for voice memos and turned it on or something. That always bugs me that Kirk himself should have been like, how the fuck did you get that? Instead, he's like, yeah, those are my words. And I'm like, dude, you're giving up.
Yeah.
Well, you know that they're doing it so that they can save the reveal that it's Kim Cattrall's character at the end, and that was one of the little winks and nods that she was the nefarious double agent. But absolutely, when that happened, it's like, that's a problem, and everyone listening should be freaked out. Yeah. Yep,
it's like finding the Watergate tapes and then just not doing anything about it. It's like no biggie. It's fine. This is okay. This is fine. Deneé, what else did you have?
So this one, I don't know, maybe I missed something, and you guys will unsend this one. It might be argumentative, I'm not sure. So the Klingons come over for to eat, and then they go to the transporter room, and they're beamed off the ship. But it looks like one of the Klingons speaks into his transporter that they're ready to be transported out, and then they're transported by the Klingon ship. So is it just a courtesy to use the transporter room then?
Yeah,
Is it just like, we're going to go to this room?
This is the place where we go. So I just suddenly, you know what? Dinner is going so badly. Just beam them out right now. Forget the
That's
dessert
exactly
course.
right.
I never even
Like-
thought about that.
So I did think of this, and it was the only reason it's argumentative is it could just be incoming, and then the Enterprise does the beaming in. The reason that falls apart is because when the evil Starfleet guys beam across, they beam in, they do all of the shooting in the EV suits, but then when they beam back, it's red. So somebody on the Klingon ship is beaming them back using the Klingon transporters. Or else
Right,
it
and we
should
knew that
be
they
blue.
were. I thought that they were. I don't remember what color it was, but I remember thinking, is that the right color? Because it was just confusing to me. But either way, we would look at that.
There's-
We would
either
examine
way,
that a little and
there's
see if there's a sin
something
in there.
that's inconsistent with the
something there.
color of the. I mean, I don't know why they would use the Klingon transporter room. Like, just get at the inconsistency amount. I can only assume that it takes more energy unless you're in the transporter room. Somehow,
I'm just curious how
it
that
saves
works.
energy by doing it.
Nah,
from there.
they should be using the transporter to beam those turkeys instead of using the dumbwaiter.
Heck yeah.
Thanksgiving dinner will be
Absolutely.
beamed to your quarters
Exactly.
at 5:55.
Let's do it.
Exactly.
I've never understood why, and they do this once in Voyager. When you get through the shields of an enemy ship, just beam a ton of torpedoes inside the ship and blow them up. Like, you don't have to worry about targeting sensors anymore. Just beam them from the inside
Brilliant.
out, or just fucking beam them all into space.
Brilliant.
Just do it. Yeah, baffling. I would be evil at Star Trek. They should not happen. I just had a little. Oh yeah, sorry. So the briefing room that we briefly see, and this is where they have dinner, and you've got that long table. I was like, that looks oddly familiar, and I remember thinking this years and years ago. And it's exactly the same as the briefing room that's used in the first 2 seasons of TNG. And I was like, man, you had to save some money here because you're using the same engine room, the same corridor. You've redressed the briefing room. And I was like, that's weird. Why isn't it in season 3? So I did some digging, and obviously the briefing room gets blown up during the final attack when Chang is firing. And they wanted to redress the briefing room in TNG. And I was like, well, I guess you can blow it up for the undiscovered country then. I was like, that's amazing.
That is
Like,
amazing.
it's so great.
That's
So I'm
how
like,
you
well,
do it.
we're going to redecorate anyway. How do we give it a send-off? And we're like, well, let's just redress it to look like the Enterprise A and then blow that fucker up. Let's do it.
Love
It's
it.
so great.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
It's so great. But 80 years separated, there is very little that should look the same. Based on like how often they change their fucking uniform, like how does the engine room of the Enterprise A look the same as the Enterprise D?
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, but and also Hollywood budgets and stuff. But still, I'm not happy. Anything else, Jeremy, that's bugging you?
No, I think we've pretty much covered all of it. I can't think of anything else. Plus, I just love this movie too much to sin it too often.
That was my next line. Was it is just a perfect movie. Perfect-ish. I love it. It's just so fun. It was a great send-off. There is like the classic second star to the right and straight on till morning. And Deneé
Okay,
was just like,
I'm so like Captain
was
Kurt's
not
fucking
happy.
quoting Peter Pan right now.
Yeah, but in a movie that has almost exclusively quoted Shakespeare, it's always struck
Yes.
me as weird that they couldn't find a Shakespeare quote for him to use right there.
I know. Like there has been this high-level dialogue, and you give Captain Kirk Peter Pan.
I know. It's like, isn't all good things?
But then when they start signing their names across the screen and the music, that gets me every time.
Yeah. Oh man. That does
Yeah,
get
it was
me.
really nice for them to make sure that all the merch looks authentic, so everyone can hold up their signed autograph, going, "Okay, yeah, mine's real."
That's so cynical. I love it. I was like, nope, it's not technically the same signature at the end of Undiscovered Country, and therefore
If
it's not
that
official.
signature- that's right. That's exactly right.
Your signed autographed merchandise is worth less because it doesn't match the movie. It's very clever. It's very clever.
My last thought was just you had to let Kirk kiss someone. Like, did you have to give him the semi-romance thing?
Not
Like,
just that.
I mean, what?
That's a
man.
disgusting ass kiss. Like, that is a gross kiss. There's nothing
Just all
romantic
lips.
or even sexy about that. It's gross. And
No.
It's really
ugh,
gross.
I don't like that moment.
I didn't either. I wrote like, so is he kissed so frequently that this is sort of normal then?
Yep.
Because if someone is aggressive, if someone just is like, hey, No.
When McCoy is right there just trying to get some sleep.
All of the prisoners are there. Like, it's almost as if that the people who are setting him up are like, listen, this guy gets kissed a lot.
Yeah.
Surefire way to get him to be like, you're on my side is just tongue the man.
I mean, let's talk about the bad guy's plan, because like the whole ruse of no, it would be far too suspicious if you both died in an accident. What? And this is less suspicious? Like, just kill him. If you want him dead, kill him. No one cares. No one's going to do anything. You got him by the balls.
Just while we're speaking of balls, and while we're in this area of the prisoner area,
She's going for the knees.
Yeah.
what? Why have it exposed?
That's what I'm saying.
No?
Like, you can have your genitals anywhere you want, but if they're in your knee, why are you wearing pants with holes in the knee?
You're always wearing a cup. Always.
Here's the thing. You watch that scene. He's not in pain. He's being pleasured. That man is a fucking freak. Okay?
Because the moan goes on for so long.
He is exposing himself. I did not watch that scene as if he was hurt and kicked in the nads. I watched that scene like he was like, oh yeah. And I was like, this is like a fucking sexual predator who's exposing his junk to people all the time. And he's just waiting for someone to be like, God, why? You know, why is your knee exposed? And then they touch it and he's like, oh yeah.
Man.
And that's a sin.
Like,
that is definitely a sin.
The tone of his moan like echoes and reverberates through the cave. And Deneé was like, is he enjoying that? Why is that moan carrying on? And I'm just like, wait for it.
Anyhow,
there's going to be a reveal.
That was very uncomfortable. I only have one more sin. I feel like it's maybe the most sinful thing of the entire movie. And it's the very, very beginning.
Here we go.
Why watch your teacup fall? You have so much time.
Because it's iconic. It's classic.
It's not iconic. It's not
now.
classic. It is disrespectful of your tea. It is disrespectful of the cup that's holding your tea.
It's such a beautiful little china cup as well. It's so pretty.
There's so much time. It's like 5 minutes pass and we're just watching this teacup and the whole time I'm like, just fucking stop it from falling off the goddamn floor. Like,
but he had to work himself.
Why are we watching it?
He had to work himself up to that big shield.
Yeah, I mean, he lets the ships. This is actually a kind of an issue. He lets that ship shudder for like 22 seconds before he raises the shields. And it's not just like a little bit of shake. That thing is like having an earthquake. And he's just looking at the screen.
He's getting thrown from bed.
And then he goes,
the telescope is shaking.
Pretty late there, buddy.
It's, yeah. And I wasn't sure if the shields went up because they didn't show like a graphic or anything. So I was glad that it did because I was like,
a bit sketchy in the movies about what the shields
put it up?
look like.
But the tea falling was so frustrating to me. Like you just know in a ship with so much equipment that has to run properly, we're just spilling shit for fun.
And somewhere in the galley, there's the worker who prepared that tea and sent it up to him via the dumbwaiter, who's like, you don't respect my word.
Table.
What the hell?
Fuck you, I'm going to vaporize your mug and just let the tea contents sit there on your little saucer. I did have one additional sin on that, and it is the height of that table is like shin busting. Like, there is no way he's not walking into that thing.
Every day.
And what else is it for?
All the time.
No other
Why is
captain
it
has
there?
ever had that. It's just for his tea.
It's a little side lounge tea moment.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Okay, we're going to do a little very quick fun prediction section, so it's off to the ready room. Welcome to the Captain's Ready Room, where we hear our predictions for a future movie, perhaps, and that's pretty much what we're going to do. So, really, really quick question. Obviously, we know what happens next. Deneé. Scotty, we do see him again.
Okay.
We do see Spock again. We do see Kirk again. Really quickly, how do we see these three people in the future of the franchise?
They're golfing, for sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
That would not be, if you'd seen 5, that would not be super out of place, because they go camping
true.
and mountain climbing.
They dedicate a good chunk of the runtime to camping and row your boat.
It's the quintessential, like, something has happened. We got to go get the people who know what's going on. And so they go interrupt them as they're having their retirement. And so it's like a retirement interruption situation. That's my prediction.
For one last job.
Could you imagine Kirk, Spock, and Scotty as a golf threesome?
Oh, my God. Yeah, but I think Spock would bury them.
I think he would. He's way too logical, and Kirk is too emotional. Yeah. He would be breaking clubs and couldn't keep.
He would just be using a driver constantly, like regardless of the shot.
And Scotty might be good. Scotty would be like, "Hey, my people invented this game, so part of it's in my
100%. He's actually descended from what's his name? I can't remember a single golfer's name now. The Scottish one.
Yeah.
Is it
Montague?
Is there a Montgomery? No.
Sure.
Anyway,
are we talking about a specific golfer, or are we just trying to name one?
Yeah, the Scottish one, the Scottish golfer.
Oh, Colin Montgomery?
Yeah, is that him?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
I got that right.
I don't know anything.
Welcome
All
to
I know is that I can
Golfcast.
see it in my mind, and it's wonderful. But they're on like a different planet. They're not on Earth. So it's a tournament that takes you from planet to planet where you have to like. It's an intergalactic
planetary
golf tournament. Planetary
intergalactic planetary. Yeah, I don't think I want that Star Trek movie.
I'll tell you what, I would take it over Generations.
Oh, I will fight you for that, but not on this episode.
I would say I was excited for this part of the show when I thought that I was going to be able to say that I was going to predict that Worf was going to come back, but turns out instead I'm going to have to predict that Worf will be born someday.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption. That's fair. I mean, just a passing line. I'm hoping that in season 3 of Picard, we get a passing. I don't care how shoehorned it is. But Worf is just like asked to like give a witness testimony, and he's just like, "Look,
I want to see Worf so bad.
My family has a bad track record of representing people in court, so I'd rather not be a part of this."
Yes,
that's all I need.
Let's see that.
Is he the only main one that's not like confirmed to come back?
So he's definitely coming back, 100%.
Oh, good.
Because Terry Matalis, who's doing like part of the show running with Akiva Goldsman. Somebody like he's super active on Twitter, and someone asked him like really snarkily, "Oh, I bet you're going to change Worf, and he's going to look like the Discovery Klingons or the J.J. Abrams Klingons, and we're going to hate it." And he retweeted it and said, "Worf looks like Worf."
Awesome.
And that was like, yes,
awesome.
Get it. Yes.
I love that. Okay, we're gonna flip over into TNG for not careful. Keep us focused, Captain. Okay. Keep us focused.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining in with us. It's Cry Havoc from me.
Oh, for me, it's Klondok Arantine.
Yes.
It's Spock's bitch slap from me.
Oh my goodness! When he slaps that thing out of her, it's so vicious. Oh, damn you, sir! You will try. And as always, live long and prosper.
Oh, I said it too.
You did. Do it. You took my line. Have you no decency?
Thanks for listening. Want to connect with the show? Our hailing frequencies are always open through captainspod@cinemasins.com. Like, comment, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice, and be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Let's fucking do this. It's time to watch some Star Trek and chat with the boys. I don't know where to go next. If phasers or toys? That's too many. Yeah, I'm gonna need help with this one. Send me your lyric options and I will sing them. Send your lyrics to captainspod@cinemasins.com.
Are you recording on your end?
Of course.
Good.
Not.
No. Grumble.
So I've been playing video games, or app games rather, with Iris.
Oh, nice.
Of course. I mean, we're a gaming family.
Yeah. Yeah, she needs to be corrupted immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah. I don't know, she's 5 now, but it has been going on for years. So she is she's embedded. I have played Mario Kart and Donkey Kong with this young lady. She's a fiend. She's very, very good.
But we get inundated with ads for other games, of course, because that's the world of app gaming. So I decided to start downloading several of them that I'm like, okay, what is that? Because she and I look for sort of like simple puzzle games to play together. Mm-hmm. So they're all ad-based games. I mean,
Of course.
It won't go away, but maybe there's a good game in there. So I downloaded like 5-6 new games to try.
Nice. Oh no, your face does not communicate happiness. I sense a disturbance.
The problem is like I'm in Sense of Disturbance. Is that the right podcast? Wait,
No, that's
isn't
a
it?
different show.
That's a different show.
That was a Star Wars. That was a Star Wars reference. I am choking on my aspirations.
No, it should be like the beacon is picking up a signal. That's what it should be, right? Something.
I don't know if that's specifically Star Trek. Red alert! Your face screamed red alert to me.
We're getting puzzle games, but the ads are for increasingly more concerning games.
Oh, so this is like a pyramid scheme where like if you're a sucker enough to download this game, then we funnel the really shitty adverts at you. Uh-huh.
That's
Got
exactly it.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
So I'm testing a game out. I usually test the games before I open them up with
Wise.
Iris because I want to know what she's getting into.
Mhm. Smart.
I'm playing this game. It's all about people going into a fair and riding rides and not getting angry about wait time.
Okay, yeah, I've played similar games.
It's like a queue game.
Like
yeah,
theme
park.
roller coaster
Yeah.
theme park. Yeah, that's it.
exactly. This game will be deleted quickly
Oh, okay.
because there's just she's not. This isn't her style. She's not interested in earning coins and upgrading, and so this one's going to be gone soon.
No patience
But-
for this one.
I played it for probably 10, 15 minutes, and I had 3 ads for this one particular game, and I can't wait to tell you about it.
Oh, please tell me, I'm dying.
All of that lead up to this,
Do it.
which
Hit
is,
me.
Ian, there is a game
Oh no.
that is entirely designed about how difficult it is to give exact change.
What? How broken are we as a society? Cashier 3D. That is the worst graphics I've ever seen.
They're terrible.
That's terrifying.
You're essentially, and the ad is like, it's my first day. I've never counted change before. Please don't get angry
help.
with me. I need this job.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
You pick up the little scanner, you scan a number. The person hands you, let's say that it's $29.90 and the person hands you $50.
Mm-hmm.
The cash register opens and you're supposed to give the change back. Now, the machine in front of you tells you exactly how much change to give back. You're not doing any math.
Where's the puzzle?
It's just that people don't know how to give change for cash because we're in a fucking debit card society and nobody
that's the
knows how to give
challenge.
exact change. I remember being at a coffee shop it was before pandemic. So I'm saying last year, but it was before pandemic. Okay.
Okay.
I'm in
So
there.
5 years ago then.
Yeah, exactly. But it seems like it was last year. And it was this young girl who was clearly like, this was maybe like her first job or something. And she was absolutely frozen with fear when I gave her cash.
Oh no.
Because
she was
I
not
gave her-
ready.
I gave her cash and change so that when I got my change back, it was like exactly $5. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so she had to do some
you
mental
gave her
gymnastics.
a little bit more so that she could
I
give
didn't
you a
make her
straight
break a
note.
20.
No,
right,
yeah,
right.
That is the worst. As somebody who has spent 10 years in retail, don't do that. You think you're helping, but it is not.
I don't care if I'm
It
helping.
is so
I don't want.
So this isn't even helping. This is because you
I
want
don't
a note
want
back.
$14.12. I want $15.
Then pay
That's
by
what
card.
I want.
I'm getting flashbacks. I've had cashiers call me and they've said to me, Ian, I know I'm being stupid. I am fully aware that I'm a 16-year-old piece of shit and I am definitely,
no.
I'm definitely in the wrong here. But they've given me too much money so that I can
What
give them
do
a
I
whole
do?
note. This seems dodgy. And they're worried that like they're trying to be conned out of money because they're giving back too much change. Like, yeah, but then people will do that. People will switch change backwards and forwards to confuse the cashier and get more money out of them. So we are trained to not do that.
That's crazy. I could not believe this app. I mean, there's got to be apps out there that would just make my mind hurt with
it's
what they are.
I don't even want to think. Like, do you remember? I think we sinned this. It was Rick and Morty, and Morty's dad, Jerry, is on his phone, and he's just playing a balloon where you pop balloons. And I can't remember if you sinned or not. It might have been me and Aaron. But all it is that balloons appear on the screen, and you go pop. There's no scoreboard. There's no nothing. And we tried to sin it, and we're just like, No, that checks out. There is an app that exists.
No. 100%. Iris played that when she was a child, like a super child, like a child. She's 5. What am I saying? An infant?
Yes, and
Yeah, she was
Jerry's
an
a
infant.
40-year-old man. There are other people doing it. I don't want to judge, but I am judging.
So this is called AVO, AVO.
There's some ladies on there. Right.
So
I'm
the
looking
fucking
at some-
cool thing about this game is
You can move Avo by drawing lines like this.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, wow.
And you can
It's
draw
a
lines too.
augmented reality
Try
thing.
moving Avo over to this blue flask here.
Oh, that's so cute. You sent him on the longest little trip. Man, why isn't this a thing? This is incredible.
okay. So you're
I want to play
science.
this game.
You're like a scientist. You're discovering a mystery
With an avocado.
and you are guiding an avocado that this mad scientist accidentally brought to life in a lab experiment.
That's adorable.
And what's amazing about it is, like, in your imagination, you're probably thinking, "Oh, this is animated," but they actually shot all of this with a video recorder.
Yeah.
It's in really like 4K resolution, and the avocado is also a real avocado that they've just drawn some legs and arms on, and you are moving it around inside of a real universe.
It's
so
so
they've done
cool.
this really beautiful and interactive interface. So what she does is she like spills beans, and essentially how you know where to go is you follow kind of the trail of beans and you collect beans, and then you can give the avocado outfits
That's
as you're
awesome.
going through. So Iris spent approximately 40 seconds drawing the most insane line,
Oh,
which
that
you
poor
can't really call.
avocado.
You can't call it a line. I don't even know what you call it.
It's
A
spaghetti.
route.
Yes.
It was just like this twirly whirly swirly girly whirly. I went everywhere. Released her finger, and that fucking avocado just went all over the place. Followed it perfectly.
The poor thing
we were
was
cackling, laughing.
panting at the end, just like, I'm so tired. My little avocado legs.
Are we wearing our comm badges today?
We can. Do you want to wear your combat? I'll get my com badge. I'm just above the left nipple, which can vary depending on the
But my
person.
left nipple is by my belly button, Ian.
Then just deal with it. Just put it there.
That's too low. How
Don't
am
you
I
dare judge.
I'm not judging. I'm just saying that's a really terrible. It should be like 2 inches in from your shoulder and 1 inch down from your clavicle or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It should
actually,
be based on anatomy that doesn't move.
doesn't shift. Hey, look, you can absolutely move your clavicle if something goes wrong. Like if
you
you
know what I
comment,
mean.
if you comment on the position of another woman's nipples, then your clavicle may well be moved for you.
It depends on what you say.
It's very true. No, I think kind of any comment deserves a clavicle kicking.
I feel like we should just in general never comment on a woman's appearance.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree. Watching
well-
your expressions through the undiscovered country was interesting.
Oh,
It was...
all right. Well, let's save it for the show.
Well, we're in the show. This is going to be the outtakes. Everything. Nothing. We can't have a conversation. Me and Deneé
Well, then
don't
tell me.
talk. But
I
no,
know,
I don't
I
want to
know.
now. We never talk unless we're
Jesus.
recording. Because it has
We
to
need a
be
counselor.
like for the show.
Where's Albie? I'm messaging Albie.
Do it. Message him. See where it gets you.
Yeah, you're about to get a message here in a couple of minutes that can stop being a butt.
Stop being a dick to Deneé. I was like, no, she started it.
I did not. I was trying to save it for the show.
You were talking about my nipples.
What?
What? This is the first original series film that she's watching. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, right? So she's diving in right at the end of the journey. So I had to explain
no.
the Klingons, like why Kirk is so pissy, why everyone is so old. Like, okay, with that, let's hold it. In the original Klingon.
I could have sinned more. I was trying to pick like my kind of top favorites.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some that when they're investigating the blood and the guy is like looking at the blood and the medical device is just shining into his own eye. I was very concerned
Yes.
about that.
This piece of scientific equipment also blinds you.
I'm like, what is happening right now? There was also this moment between Spock and Kim's character where they drink out of this chalice that looks like something that was picked up at a thrift store, just like those really gaudy 70s things that's actually a candle holder. So another one that I was going to mention too was at the end when they're at this trial. It goes so quickly from everyone having guns out and an assassination attempt to just clapping for the future.
Slow clap.
No one said, wait, what's going on right now? It was just this super quick shift.
And it's not
in
just
tone.
a clap, it's a stupid Disney slow clap that doesn't belong in any movie ever made. And
I don't think Klingons would clap that way, honestly.
Well, what was baffling to me is that there's two aliens. They are the same species. One of them is going, and the other one is like... As if, like, clapping is alien to him. And I'm like, yeah, but your friend got it pretty quick. Like, get some context clues, my man. Like, it's okay.
Oh, and Jeremy, there was this character when they're first pulling out on the Enterprise and they're like squealing their tires or whatever, and it cuts over to Scotty, and Scotty's like, happily looking at the engine, like, look at it go. And I was looking at the person just to our left of Scotty, and he's just like got the strangest expression on his face. He's like this.
I've always focused on Scotty in that moment, and then
weird.
I had to rewind
what is this
it.
guy doing? Like, what is he reacting to? Why is he so concerned and surprised and scared all at the same time? And Ian was like, I have literally never looked at this person because everyone looks at Scotty. I don't know look at Scotty.
It's the worst side acting I've ever seen.
It's so
like
bad.
It's like the warp core just turned into a flower, and he's like,
so bad.
So strange.
If you watch it, just don't look at Scotty. Look to the left, and it'll be.
when I'm in 10 forward waiting for you guys, can I be drinking that drink that Data thought was disgusting, but he loved it?
It is revolting.
Yes.
Man,
I
what is
hate
it called?
this.
I hate this. More, please.